Nevis, other media houses facilitating this live broadcast, and members of the media present. As is customary, firstly, the Premier will present his update on the NIA's governance of the affairs of Nevis. Thereafter, the members of the press will be invited to pose their questions. Members of the press, please remember to state your name and the organization that you represent before posing your questions. Further, I reiterate the kind request to place all phones and electronic devices on silent for the duration of the press conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I now invite to the podium the Honorable Mark A.G. Brantley, the Premier of Nevis.
Good morning, members of the press. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to Ms. Shauna Keynes for the introduction. I'm delighted to see you here, and I look forward to this press conference. I'm happy to see so many of you here. I was a little apprehensive because we're on the cusp of the St. Kitts Music Festival, and I assume that all roads lead to St. Kitts for this edition of the Music Festival. But let me say good morning to all who are here and all who are listening. And let me start by congratulating Mrs. Petter Trost-Daniel. We've had the great news that she's been promoted to Assistant Director of People and Culture at the Four Seasons Resort Nevis, and we're very proud of her. And Mrs. Trost-Daniel, if you're listening, congratulations to you. And certainly we look forward to more of our local people moving into leadership positions at all the institutions in St. Kitts and Nevis. Let me also alert the public that, of course, Nevis has a very historic building, which is the Bath Hotel. And we have, through the assistance of the United States government, been working on some renovations and upgrades at the Bath Hotel. We have now got to the point where we want to have a stakeholder consultation. That will happen on Wednesday, July 2nd at 5 p.m. at the Bath Hotel on the ground floor. You should enter via the hot springs entrance, that entrance closest to the hot springs. It's open to the general public. And what we're trying to do is, as we remodel, upgrade, restore, that might be the best word, the Bath Hotel, we're looking to see what the public's views are in terms of how we use that magnificent edifice that continues to stand after over 200 years. And so, as we like to say, Nevis is the birthplace of hospitality because we're the very first island in the Caribbean that has had a hotel built, and that was the Bath Hotel. Let me look quickly at the Ministry of Communication and Works. And I want to report that Mrs. Rhonda Forbes Williams, the Deputy Postmaster General for Nevis, is retiring from the civil service after some 32 years of committed service to the people of Nevis. Mrs. Forbes Williams spent the last 13 of those years at the post office. The Ministry of Communications and Posts and the staff of the Nevis Post Office congratulate her on her retirement and wish her well in her future endeavors. Mrs. Marva Parrish has been identified to manage the operations of the post office in the interim. A decision was made to move, in terms of the drilling for water, to the Brazier site after the attempts to remove stuck drill pipes at the Descent site have failed. Drilling at the Brazier site continued to a depth of 175 feet. The estimated final depth of that well is intended to be 550 feet. Upon a completion of that well, we will return to Descent. Members of the press would remember that we are embarked on a drilling process for more water on Nevis. We are hoping to drill some 9 wells. We have already completed 2 wells. The 3rd well was at Descent, but midway through we had a problem where we lost the drill bit in the well. The drillers have tried their best to get it out. They said now that they have failed, and so what we've done is not to stop, but to move on to the next site, which is Brazier's, and that's where we are. A public consultation was held by the ministry on Tuesday, June 17th at NEPAC, where 95 people were in attendance, 45 persons in person and 50 online. The purpose of that meeting was to introduce the Nevisian public to the important details of the US $50 million St. Kitts and Nevis Transwater Federal Project. The project seeks to transition the water supply in St. Kitts and Nevis to a low-carbon, climate-resilient product. This project seeks to update the necessary legislation, enhance our integrated water resources management unit, build additional storage, and reduce our water losses. The project is expected to begin in early 2026. Quickly onto the Public Works Department. I'm proud to announce that road works continue on the upper section of the Brown Pasture Morgan Estate Road. Concrete curbs on this section of road are completed, and the concrete road surface will be paved during this week. So we're making excellent progress, bringing relief to the people in that area who have been clamoring to have that road fixed for a very long time. The concrete block drain just west of Fanny's store here in Charlestown has been completed as well. On Friday the 13th of June, the old culvert at that location was demolished and excavated. The 4-inch water main was lowered at the culvert location in order to achieve a greater depth for the new culvert. In addition to the culvert construction, additional drainage improvements will be carried out at this site. That would include excavation and reconstruction of the existing curbs on either side of that culvert. We are also engaged now in some rehabilitation and resurfacing works on the Island Main Road in the vicinity of Pinnes, the Malcolm Gishard Park. On Thursday, 19 June, the road section from Pinnes to the Craft House was milled. The road template is being graded for asphalting, which will be done during this week. The second section from the Craft House to the vicinity of the old Jehovah's Witnesses Hall will be milled and resurfaced immediately upon completion of the first section. The motoring public is asked to adhere to the traffic signs and directives of the Public Works site workers during the execution of the project, and of course, we apologize for any inconvenience to our motoring public, but we have been working assiduously on improving the road surfaces, improving the infrastructure more broadly on the island of Nevis. So whether it's water, roads, drainage, we are in a continuous pattern of upgrading and improving our infrastructure. For the past 2 weeks, the Public Works Department has been installing a culvert in Maddens in the road leading to the prison farm. During periods of heavy rainfall, vehicular traffic to the prison farm has oftentimes been interrupted at that location until the stream subsides. So what we're seeking to do is to construct a culvert to remedy that problem at that particular area in Maddens. Public Works Department is also currently supervising a project on Pump Road aimed at improving motor vehicle and pedestrian safety. The wall at the Dyer's property on Pump Road, it is right here. Those of you who know Nevis know where the water department is, where they have their famous Friday night barbecue. And the property across the street north of Dyer's property is being set back to clear sight distances at that location. Additionally, to improve pedestrian safety, a concrete sidewalk will be constructed in that area. In terms of the Department of Labor, we have embarked on a public education initiative in terms of the St. Kitts Nevis labor laws. Our Department of Labor is pleased to announce the launch of a public education initiative aimed at increasing awareness and understanding of the labor laws of St. Kitts and Nevis. As part of that initiative, our labor officers will be conducting on-site presentations at businesses across the island, engaging directly with employers, managers, and employees. These sessions are designed to sensitize all parties to their rights and responsibilities under the law, address common areas of concern, and create a space for open dialogue and questions. Our goal at the Department of Labor is to promote compliance, strengthen workplace relations, and ensure that all stakeholders are well informed and empowered. You can send letters, we have sent letters, to several businesses, and we urge other businesses that might be interested in this public education initiative to contact the Labor Department, 469-5521 extension 6365, or you can email us at labor.dept@niagovkn.com. Let me move to the Disaster Management Department. On Monday, 2nd June, the Honorable Spencer Brand, Minister responsible for this disaster management, convened the committee's first meeting for the year at the Nevis Disaster Management Department's Emergency Operations Center, EOC, located at Long Point. I think all of us would know that the dreaded hurricane season has started. It started officially on June 1st, and Minister Brand on June 2nd convene his first meeting. I think that speaks volumes to how seriously we take our responsibility to keep the people of Nevis prepared and ultimately to keep them safe. That meeting brought together representatives from subcommittees, emergency response agencies, NGOs, and volunteer groups. Each entity provided updates on their preparedness status, ongoing activities, and strategic plans for the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season. In his remarks, Mr. Brand expressed appreciation for the detailed reports and emphasized the importance of sustained vigilance. He urged all stakeholders to avoid complacency and to prioritize strategic planning and preparedness to minimize disaster-related losses. According to early predictions issued by the Colorado State University on 3rd April 2025, this year's hurricane season is expected to be above average, with forecasts indicating 19 named storms, of which 9 could become hurricanes and 4 may intensify into major hurricanes. Of course, we prepare for the worst, but pray for the best. And so we are hopeful that God will spare us any hurricanes this year and any damage from hurricanes. But we are truly in His hands, and all we can do is to try our best to prepare, and that we are doing. As part and parcel of that preparedness, from June 11th to 13th, we would have had a Community Disaster Communications Ambassadors Orientation Training Workshop. Now, at the Nevis Disaster Management Department, Emergency Operations Center, EOC, we would have had this event there, and it marked a pivotal step in establishing a national community-based communications framework. This 3-day workshop was designed to orient, motivate, and prepare a select group of participants for the official launch of Phase 1 of that Disaster Communications Ambassadors Program. Grounded in the Jacob Ngumba model of integrated disaster communications governance, the workshop laid a strong foundation by introducing participants to the core principles, structures, and tools essential for their roles as disaster communication ambassadors. The DCA program was developed to decentralize and localize disaster communication efforts across Nevis, addressing the unique vulnerabilities of small island developing states, particularly the risks posed by misinformation, communication delays, and cultural disconnects during emergencies. A total of 16 participants representing all 5 parishes of Nevis took part in this exercise. We also, from the 16th to 18th of June, at the Nevis Disaster Management EOC, had the initial damage assessment. That process over 3 days, purpose was to provide participants with the knowledge and skills needed to evaluate the damage caused by a disaster, to understand the scope and severity of the impact. It helps determine the need for state or federal assistance and may later inform preliminary damage assessment reports. We had a total of 36 participants involved in that. We also, on 19th of June, had an initial damage and damage assessment needs analysis report writing workshop. And this too was done at the EOC. The purpose of this workshop was to provide participants with the knowledge and skills needed to communicate information about a specific hazard or issue, typically for the purpose of informing, guiding, or influencing decision making. And again, that was another effort put on through our Nevis Disaster Management Agency. The Nevis Disaster Management Department and the Ministry of Tourism would have participated in the Decentralizing Heritage Protection Conference held in St. Martin from 17th to 20th June 2025. This landmark event marked the official launch of the Caribbean Cultural Emergency Response Sub-Hub, the first initiative of its kind in the region. Designed as a critical resource, the Sub-Hub supports not only disaster response, but also proactive efforts in preparedness, training, and strategic coordination to safeguard cultural heritage. Let me move now to inform that the St. Kitts and Nevis Climate Risk Intelligence and Digital Infrastructure, SKNCRID. The St. Kitts and Nevis Climate Risk Intelligence and Digital Infrastructure portal officially became operational on the 19th of June, 2025. when consulting firm H.R. Wallingford provided login credentials to key national emergency agencies like, of course, NEMA and the Nevis Disaster Management Department. This online platform significantly enhances the capacity of St. Kitts and Nevis's meteorological services and partner organizations to deliver accurate, timely, and actionable climate information. It supports improved understanding and forecasting of climate change impacts, while also informing decision-making in areas such as disaster risk reduction and climate services development. More than that, the portal plays a vital role in strengthening stakeholder and community awareness of climate change, early warning systems, and emergency response, ultimately contributing to more effective decision-making and mitigation of climate risks. You will notice, members of the press and members of the public, that I've spent a little bit of time talking about what we're doing in terms of training, in terms of engaging on the issue of climate. We are, as I said, in the hurricane season, and it behooves us to get ready. We're trying to be ready at the government level in terms of information sharing, in terms of training of responders, but we also, of course, implore our people to also be ready. Pay attention to announcements and ensure that you do what is necessary at your homes. Clearing bush and clearing trees that are overhanging, all of those are important initiatives. Clearing drains, clearing gutters, these are all important. And of course, stocking up with non-perishable food items as much as possible. Let us all be prepared. As I say, we prepare for the worst, but we hope and pray for the best. Let me move on to the all-important Department of Agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm very proud that a delegation of some 32 persons from our Department of Agriculture and from Nevis more generally would have traveled to St. Eustatius on the 13th of June 2025 to attend the first ever Agri-Festival in Statia. The team was able to represent Nevis with 5 booths, namely the Agri-Processing Unit, the Larison Parry Agriculture Depot, Val's Delight, which is Mrs. Ermin Hendrickson, a well-known food processor here on the island, A1 Farms, represented by Mr. McClevin Truss with his herbal plants, trees, and coconut water, and Native Radiance Cosmetic, Ms. Shabana Prince, displaying her healthcare products. In addition, the patron for this year's Nevis Agro Export, Mr. Daniel Arthurton, was able to join us on that trip. The delegation was extremely well received in St. Eustatius, and I'm told that they came back almost empty-handed. That's good news. It means that the people in Statia bought almost everything that they had to sell. From this experience, new clients were engaged. St. Eustatius was also able to experience a bit more of what Nevis has to offer, and they should strengthen the collaboration between both islands, not only through festivals, but also on the technical level and further afield. And we're hoping, of course, with these islands that we can generate more trade. I say kudos to the government and people of St. Eustatia. They, of course, have in the past supported our Agri-Fest, our open day here. They come in large numbers, sometimes 2 and 3 boatloads full would come from Statia. So we're able to reciprocate and to go there to support them, and we're quite happy that we're able to do so. The Marine Resource Department supported the Nevis Fishermen Supply Cooperative in their 5th annual Fish Festival on the 13th of June. The event, I'm told, was wildly successful, and it again opened up new markets for our fisher folk. Let me move quickly to our summer festival, Culturama. As part of the Culturama 51 festivities so far, we have experienced the National Bank Soca Teaser on the 6th of June at H&M Seafood, right there in Cotton Ground, and the other at Queen City Bar and Gardens in Charlestown. The very first TDC Calypso tent on the 22nd of June was held at Dewdrops restaurant right there in Westbury. The crowd, I'm told, was fantastic, and persons had a great time. You will notice that we have gone from Cotton Ground to Charlestown to Westbury. The idea behind these events is to spread these cultural events for Culturama all around the island. We want everybody to feel the tempo. We want everybody to experience Culturama, and so we're not just concentrating all the activities in Charlestown. We're taking them into the villages and into the communities. And thus far, H&M Seafood in Cotton Ground, Queen City Barn Grill in Charlestown, and Dewdrops in Westbury have all benefited from those initiatives, and of course the persons that attend in those areas and persons from all around the island. On Friday, June 20th, the Charleston waterfront witnessed the launch of Culturama 51 and the reveal of senior pageants, Mr. and Miss Talented Youth, and the Junior Calypso Show. In the Mr. Cool Show, we have 5 participants this year. Miss Swimwear, we have 4 participants. Bank of Nevis, Miss Culture, there are 4 contestants. Republic Bank and Mr. and Mrs. Talented Youth, there are 5 schools. St. Thomas's Primary, Charlestown Primary, Elizabeth Pemberton Primary, Joycean Lywood, and Ivor Walters Primary. And for the first Federal Cooperative Credit Union and Greenhouse Band Junior Calypso, there are 15 young Calypsonians competing. What can you look forward to as members of the public? Upcoming, we have the night market and National Soca Teaser that will be at the Artisan Village. That's just below us where we are here. That's on July 5th, starting at 8 p.m. This is twinned with the night market that will be hosted by the Ministry of Tourism. And if you have not yet been to a night market there, you must check it out. It's a fantastic event. Then we have the National Bank Soca Eliminations. Those will be done virtually through a live stream on 11 July. The C51 Carib-powered bar crawl. This is where the senior pageant participants will be going around the island to various bars, and the general public is invited to join. TDC Calypso tent at Mem's Pizzeria on the 13th June, starting at 7 p.m. Opening of Culturama Village, the National Bank Soca Monarch semi-finals on 19th July. And it will be a hot show. That's what they tell me to say. It will be a hot show, so come out and support your favorite artists. 20th July, TDC Calypso semi-finals at the David Freeman Center of Excellence. That's in Gingerland, starting at 8 p.m. And Junior Calypso finals sponsored by First Federal Cooperative Credit Union and Greenhouse Band happening on the 23rd July. That venue is to be announced. Again, if you're here, we're going to MEMS. We're going to Gingerland, to the David Freeman Center of Excellence. We're going in the village. We are going bar crawl all around the island. We're going down to the Artisan Village. The idea, again, is that we're sharing and spreading the joy and the celebration of Culturama across the island. Please note, members of the press and members of the public, that the Culturama Secretariat has moved. Their new location is the Cotton Ginnery Mall in the heart of Charlestown on the 2nd floor. Registration ends this Friday, June 27th, for street vending. Please note that the Art, Craft, and Food Fair is closed off. It has been sold out, full capacity. We can't accommodate any more vendors. Again, our theme, our slogan, Nevision Pride, second to none, Culturama 51. July 24th to August 5th, that's where we hope all of St. Kitts and Nevis and everybody who's coming in from outside will be to celebrate Culturama 51 with us. Let me look at some efforts that we are making in relation to our youth. The Department of Youth is currently hosting the 20th edition of its annual Summer Job Attachment Program under the theme Career Ready Tech Edition. This year we have 64 recent school leavers from 5th and 6th form who are participating in the initiative, which was officially launched on Tuesday, June 17th at the Malcolm Guichard Recreational Park. What this event seeks to do, members of the press, is to introduce our youngsters, the young people who are leaving school, to the world of work, and to allow them to have internships with various businesses around the islands in the hope that they will be encouraged by the internship to get involved in one industry or another. It really allows young people an opportunity for them to get some work experience, and we're hopeful from that they will develop the necessary skills and get the necessary appetite for work and the world of work. And so we are having a lot of activities. In fact, today, the program continues with a career fair and mixer at the Malcolm Guichard Recreational Park. Our trainees will showcase their business ideas across a range of fields in local business, and members of the public, of course, are asked to be there and to support. And we invite business owners, importantly, also to be there and to support. Businesses that are interested in being a part of this impactful program are encouraged to contact our Department of Youth, 469-5521, extension 6711. Let me shift to sports, another aspect of what we are doing in terms of our engagement with our youth. And let me congratulate Mr. Carlton Pluck and Mr. Amare Jones on their selection to the Leeward Islands Under-19 cricket team for this year's Cricket West Indies Rising Stars Under-19 tournament being hosted here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We are also pleased to announce that after some time of not having regional cricket in Nevis, we will now be hosting a number of matches at the ETW Park here in Nevis. In fact, I believe that the team is hard at work doing some renovations and upgrades for that purpose. On July 3rd, Barbados against Guyana. On July 6th, we have the Windward Islands against Jamaica. July 9th, Windward Islands against USA 2. July 12th, Leeward Islands against Trinidad and Tobago. July 15th, Jamaica against USA 2. July 18th, Leeward Islands versus USA 1. July 21st, Guyana versus Trinidad and Tobago. And July 24th, 7th and 8th place playoff. All of those are happening in Nevis as we are sharing the tournament with St. Kitts. And so we are quite happy that cricket has come back, and I congratulate all of those who are involved in this. The government, of course, will play its role as partner to the Nevis Cricket Association to assist them in executing their mandate in having more cricket played, more exposure for our young people happening at these various venues. We also take this opportunity to congratulate the Nevis cricket team. We placed third in the recent Leeward Islands T20 tournament. But we didn't win, but special recognition must be given to Kian Pemberton, who finished the tournament tied for the most wickets, and Ross Powell, who finished with the second most runs scored in the tournament. So we congratulate these two youngsters, Ross Powell and Kian Pemberton. Continuing with the cricket theme, members of the press, earlier today, we witnessed the commencement of the 2025 TDC Ronaldo Morton Primary School Cricket Tournament. This year marks 30 years of TDC being the title sponsor, and the Departments of Education and Sport wish to express sincere gratitude to TDC for continued support and commitment to our cricket program. This year's tournament will include 8 schools participating in a round-robin format, with the top 4 teams advancing to the playoffs. The tournament will run from June 23rd to July 11th. We encourage members of the public, please, to go out and support our youngsters. And incidentally, this tournament is named for West Indies player Ronaldo Morton, who hails from Nevis but tragically died in a car accident in Trinidad some years ago. And we thought it was a good way to keep his name alive and to honor him and his accomplishments by having this tournament in his name. And so the Ronaldo Morton Primary School Cricket Tournament has started, and we urge you to go and support the games. We're not just playing cricket in Nevis, we are also swimming. And yesterday, the St. Kitts Nevis Aquatics Federation announced that national swimmer, 13-year-old Skylar Connor, will represent the Federation at the 2025 World Aquatics Championship in Singapore, with the swimming taking place from July 26th to August 3rd. Skylar will compete in the 50-meter freestyle and 50-meter breaststroke events at this meet, 2 of the most explosive and competitive sprint events in international swimming. We congratulate Skylar, her entire support system, and, of course, the St. Kitts Nevis Aquatics Federation for the work that they continue to do. So Skylar, of course, from Nevis, is part of this swimming, this national swimming effort, and we congratulate her. We have been doubling down on our efforts here in Nevis on swimming, and we know, because every sport is asking for infrastructure, that those in swimming have been asking for the pool to be built. We have committed to do so, subject, of course, to resources. We have already identified some land, but we are hopeful that some of those who are clamoring that they need the pool will also assist us in financing the pool. So we're looking forward to that partnership to make that happen, and for us to have an Olympic type facility here for our youth of St. Kitts and Nevis so that they can develop. Let me now move to our children. Child Month is observed during the month of June in the Federation each year, and this year we're celebrating 40 years of Child Month celebrations under the theme From Small Steps to Big Strides, celebrating 40 years with pride. We would have had a number of events, including a large march through the streets of Charlestown. We had a church service held on June 2nd where we honored teacher Vianna Stapleton Powell, owner of V&J's Preschool. Everybody knows teacher Vianna from Brownhill. At our Grand Street Parade on June 13th, we honored teacher Vernitha Collins, owner of Vernon Luce School. And at our Star Search competition on June 18th, we honored retired education officer Mrs. Florence Smitten. During the competition, which featured preschools competing in song, poetry, and dance, the winners were St. John's Preschool in poetry, Vernon Luce Preschool in dance, and Ines France Preschool in song. At our Kids Athletics on June 20th, we honored Jacqueline Brooks, the first early childhood coordinator at the Department of Education, who first conceptualized the Kids Athletics activity and led the event for several years. St. John's Preschool emerged a winner for this inter-preschool athletic competition. Activities to celebrate the month continue with graduations and award ceremonies at the end of this month. Let me commend all of those who have been involved in child care and child education for a very long time. And I can't mention all of these stalwarts without mentioning my friend, Miss Josette Myers, because Mrs. Myers has also been a stalwart in this area. In fact, she tells me that she has the longest existing preschool in all of Nevis. And I continue to wish her, and that's the Maud, what's it called? Maud Smith Preschool right there in the metropolis of Bath Village. And so she has been doing excellent work, and I want to commend her publicly as well, Mrs. Myers, and all of those who continue to help us raise our children, help us educate our children from the tiny tots all the way up. All of us here, well, not all of us, most of us here would probably have gone to a preschool at some point. And so we encourage them, we celebrate with them, and we thank them for their service. Graduation ceremonies, this is graduation season, and we encourage you, of course, to look at the calendar. All the schools, preschools, primary schools, they're all having their graduation ceremonies, and we ask you to look at the calendar and to go out and support. We take this opportunity to congratulate all students who will be graduating. We also congratulate the principals, teachers, staff, parents of the various schools as well, and admonish and encourage our children to continue on their path of being productive citizens. Good news, certainly when I was in school, this was the news I waited for all year. Schools will officially close for students on Wednesday, July 9th, and for staff on Friday, July 11th. We wish all our students, teachers, and staff a safe and rejuvenating summer, and look forward to welcoming them back at the start of the new school year on August 25th. You know, it's interesting. I used to think that school started in September, but it's August 25th for the teachers and September 1st for the students. So you have a long summer. You have all of July. You have all of August, 2 months. That's a pretty good holiday, I think, a pretty decent vacation, 8 weeks. And I know in my day I certainly enjoyed my summer vacations. I'm hopeful that students and teachers will enjoy their break. The Nevis Public Library launches Growing with Books Early Literacy Initiative on Monday, June 23rd. The program targets babies and children under 3 who are not yet in preschool. The aim is to foster love for books and reading and encourage a presence of books in the home from an early age, thus promoting and supporting early literacy skills, including listening comprehension, vocabulary, and sound recognition. Milestone certificates will be awarded to parents who read at least 25 books to their children each quarter. A series of workshops will also be held to bring awareness and give guidance to parents in areas such as child development and storytelling skills. These efforts, members of the press, are geared to create a more cohesive Nevis, to allow parents and children a time to bond, but also to demonstrate our commitment to our people from the earliest possible age. As we like to say, from birth until the Father calls them home. The idea really is to ensure that our people at every stage of development are supported, encouraged, and these types of efforts. Some may well ask, well, why are you going to have, reading for children, babies, and under 3? And the idea is, as we say, to help them to start to hear words, to help them with comprehension, listening, sound recognition, and importantly, to encourage the parents to have books and to have reading as part and parcel of the home. That we think is very important. Summer Library Program. The Nevis Public Library will host the 35th Annual Summer Library Program from July 14th to August 1st under the theme Education and Fun, 35 Years Strong. There will be 3 rounds of the program, each focused on different categories of students. July 14th to 18th is secondary school students. Those are ages 13 to 16. July 21st to 24th, primary school students aged 9 to 12. And July 28th to August 1st, primary school students aged 5 to 8. We want to commend the staff at the library for their excellent work. Let me speak quickly, members of the press, about our rebranding exercise for tourism. The Nevis Tourism Authority has officially unveiled a refreshed identity of its international marketing campaign. While it was decided that the tagline Nevis naturally represents a very strong brand and that tagline was retained, the new look with new fonts and a new logo was revealed at a local launch held here in Nevis at Montpelier Plantation and Beach Hotel on May 29th. And then on June 2nd, the international launch was hosted at the Paley Center for Media Arts in New York. The rebranding featured photography from local photographer Casey Jeffers, as well as local models. What the new brand means: visual identity. Black and white creative direction evokes luxury, sophistication, and timeless charm, all of which are descriptions for the island of Nevis. Tone, understated, confident, and rooted in authenticity, a true reflection of the Nevisian experience. And it has been designed to elevate Nevis as the Caribbean's premier luxury destination. Now, I recognize there was a lot of chatter locally about our new campaign. And I just wanted to say, first of all, the campaign is not directed at a local audience. You're already in Nevis. The campaign is directed at an international audience. And so for me, whilst the opinions locally are important, and we don't try to dismiss them, the question for us was, what impact was the campaign having internationally? And that impact has been tremendous. A lot of press has picked up the campaign. The event in New York was widely carried and publicized. We were able to attract quite a few celebrities. Those of you who know the actor Dooley Hill, for example, he came, spoke about his experience in Nevis, and we had some incredible coverage at that event. What we were trying to do with this campaign is to set Nevis apart. Many people, including me, at the outset said, how can you portray the Caribbean in black and white? Caribbean is all about vibrant color. It's about blue water. It's about white sand. It's about greenery. But then you know what? Every other Caribbean island is doing the same thing. If you pull up on your phone now ads for the Caribbean, you see the same thing for every island. Maybe a carnival costume, somebody on the beach, a boat, somebody with a drink, and you have calypso music, soca music, reggae music, or maybe steel pan music playing in the background. All of them are the same. And so we thought, how does a little jurisdiction like Nevis attract attention? And we decided to take the bold step of doing a campaign in black and white. Now, it's not the whole campaign, but certainly parts of the campaign are in black and white. And it has really been amazing. You talk about disrupting. In fact, the biggest compliment I got is that a media personality in New York said to me that they anticipate that other islands will probably follow suit, because we are creating a lot of noise out there. People have never seen this before. It is new, it is avant-garde, it is really depicting the island in a unique way that sets us apart from the rest of the crowd. And there's a big crowd out there. We also timed the launch that it was at the Caribbean Tourism Organization's Caribbean Week in New York. So we had the attention of the entire world, so to speak, in terms of the Caribbean and what we're doing. Now let's face it, members of the press, a little island like Nevis, we don't have the budget to compete with the bigger jurisdictions. We don't even have the budget to compete with St. Kitts. Not that we are, because we complement each other. But when you talk about Jamaica, Barbados, and the bigger islands, they have huge budgets to put behind their marketing. So what we have tried to do is to do things that are unique, things that will attract attention, and things that will attract not just attention, but positive attention. So while we heard some of the negative comments, people saying things like they don't like it, and I understand that, but we weren't going for what people like or don't like. We were going for impact, and I think we created that impact. And all of us as well know that the way that you portray luxury is refined luxury, is black and white. That is classic expression of luxury, and that's what Nevis is seeking to do, and that's the market that we are seeking to achieve. But let me emphasize one other thing. We have also grounded the campaign in Nevis. We reached out to New York to Casey Jeffers, who's from Nevis, but who's making quite a name for himself internationally as a photographer to the stars. Casey came, was commissioned by us. He did a number of portraits that will form the backbone of this campaign. And in addition, we use many of our local models and local individuals. So if you go on the website, www.nevisisland.com, you will get a feel for what we're trying to do, and we welcome your feedback, of course, bearing in mind, as I say, that the campaign really was outward looking, not inward looking. It was outward looking, and that was the idea behind it. So I think thus far the campaign is going well, and it leads me to the segue into the Nevis Mango Festival. That, of course, starts on July 4th to 6th, and it's back, as we say, in its 11th year, sweeter than ever. And this year, God has been good to us because there's mango everywhere you look in Nevis. We see mangoes galore. So we're in the heart of the mango season. We had an earlier season this year, around February, March, unusually, but this time now we have an even bigger season that's unfolding. The 3-day culinary celebration, because the Mango Festival, it's all about mango, the fruit, but it's actually a food festival. It's a culinary festival. And that brings together local and international chefs, mixologists, food lovers, and families for a vibrant tribute to our island's most beloved fruit. I'm told we have over 40 varieties of mango on the island of Nevis. On the 3rd, which is July 3rd, we have the official opening. The Mango Festival will be officially launched at the MGR Park at 9:30 a.m. And we'll have a panel discussion by our celebrity chef, Bryant Terry. He's the person who's leading the charge this year. On Friday, July 4th, at your Brenta in Cades Bay, starting at 12:30, we have a chef master class. That event is sold out. We have a mango mixologist competition, mango eating contest. So all of you members of the press, especially our brothers and sisters from St. Kitts who can't get enough Nevis mangoes, come over and be a part of the mango eating contest. On Friday, there's mango stoning. And that is interesting. You have to find mango trees with mangoes on them to have a mango stoning competition. So it's interesting that that's happening at your Brenta. There's going to be a tug of war. Mango tasting stations. Experience the juicy joy of 44 plus mango varieties, all grown right here in Nevis. So you can go from station to station, tasting the different mangoes. And hopefully you can, if you're good enough, tell which is which. Some of us can, some can't. I don't think I could identify 44, but I certainly can identify maybe about 5 or 10. And then there's a beach bar crawl Friday night. Penny's Beach comes alive at the iconic beach bars there with live music and themed drinks. So everywhere you go in Penny's for the bar crawl, you'll have themed drinks, mango again being the underlying theme. Saturday, July 5th, the Mango Passport Food Tour. The Passport Food Tour is a culinary adventure across Nevis with stops at local eateries and bars. Visitors will receive a passport to collect stamps at each stop. Evening highlight will be the supper club at Golden Rock Inn. I regret to advise that that tour is now sold out. That's a refined dining experience under the stars with a mango-infused gourmet menu curated by celebrated chefs. And then on Sunday, July 6th, for the love of mangoes, 1 p.m. This is the grand finale at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. We will have over 50 chefs showcasing mango-inspired dishes from sweet to savory We'll have a kids zone. We'll have book signing featuring culinary authors and local creatives. Mango concert that evening, live music, food and festivities celebrating Nevis culture and creativity. And this year we have brought back the VIP lounge that is curated this year for us by Carambola Beach Club. This experience, signature experience, will have VIP access, unlimited premium cocktails, 20+ gourmet samples from private chefs, and a premiere view of the Mango Festival concert. Receive 5 complimentary samples to enjoy mango tastings from the general area. Last year there was a complaint. People who are in VIP say that they wanted to go on the grounds to taste what was on the grounds. And they were restricted to only what was available in the VIP area. So this year we have listened, and in addition to the samples in the VIP area, you will also get access to at least 5 of the booths on the ground, so you can walk around and sample what's on the grounds as well. Please visit www.nevismangofest.com for your tickets. As I say, unfortunately, the supper club at Golden Rock is sold out. The chef master class as well is sold out. But other events are still available, so we asked you. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to see a consistent theme in what the government is doing. These events, again, are all scattered around Nevis. You have an event at Golden Rock, you have an event at Brenta, which is on the other side, you have the Passport Food Tour, which takes you around the island. And when the Passport Food Tour was done, the last time, it goes up into Bansgut, it goes up into Cotton Ground, it goes into the villages. The idea is to involve everybody. So when we talk about community tourism, this is what community tourism looks like. We're giving everybody an opportunity. As we say colloquially, we're giving everybody a bite, allowing our people to experience where they are. And then, of course, we bring everybody together for the grand finale at the Malcolm Guichard Park, and that, again, will be Sunday, July 6th. So I'm inviting all of St. Kitts, I'm inviting all of Nevis, and I'm inviting people from all across the region and the world to come and be a part of that. We anticipate it will be a huge event on July 6th at the MGR Park. Again, for your tickets, go to www.nevismangofest.com. We're also celebrating St. Kitts and Nevis Restaurant Week. St. Kitts and Nevis Restaurant Week will run from Thursday, 17 July to Sunday, 27 July. The objectives are to promote local consumption of local produce, encourage healthy organic eating, stimulate business for local eateries during the traditional sow season, and stimulate creativity among cooks and chefs who demonstrate novel and intuitive ways of using local ingredients selected. Members of the press, I don't know if you follow the food developments on the island and the country as much as I do, but if you do, you'll know that the ingredient this year is tamarind. Tamarind is a special ingredient that is for St. Kitts and Nevis Restaurant Week. We have already 24 restaurants in Nevis signed up to be a part of Restaurant Week, and we look forward certainly to engaging with them. Now, Nevis is going to host 2 signature events for Restaurant Week. There'll be an R&B, Rhythm and Blues, tamarind brunch at Queen City Bar and Grill right in the heart of Charlestown. That's on Saturday the 19th of July. And then there'll be a tropical twist dinner at the Heritage Cafe, Nevis Heritage Village on the 24th of July. So, of course, we're asking you to go out and support these events and just really enjoy all that Nevis has to offer. There is a lot that is there and that we can enjoy. Let me wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, by reminding you and the general public that our new rate of tourism development levy goes into effect or went into effect as of June 1st. That rate has moved from 2% to 3%, so there was an increase of 1%. And we're certainly looking forward to increased revenue from that. Again, that is a tax that is levied not on the restaurant or the business, but on those who are dining or staying at the various hotels and guest houses. Let me also report that the collection for our, that 2% for the month of May, which we collect a month later in June, was $348,274.65, which is up 7.5% from where we were last year. When I compare the numbers, which I think is useful for the press, thus far this year, we have collected for 2025 thus far, the first 6 months, $2,707,691 from a 2% levy. $2,707,691. Last year, at the same time, we had collected $2,474,304. And for that same period in 2023, we had collected $2,356,584. So, we collected $2.3 million in 2023. We collected $2.4 million in 2024, and we have thus far collected $2.7 million in 2025. That is only up to June. So those are not annual totals, those are up to June. It therefore means that for 2025, we are 9.4% ahead of where we were in 2024, and we are 15% ahead of where we were in 2023 at the same time. I think that that speaks for itself in terms of the progress that we are making, and we are hopeful that that progress will continue and that we'll continue to earn from this most important of industries, our tourism industry. I'll now open the floor for any questions that you may have and invite members of the press to pose their questions. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sean Dixon, St. Kitts Nevis Observer. One question from me. At the recent Global Sustainable Island Summit, you spoke about Nevis's commitment to geothermal energy as a cornerstone of the island's sustainable development strategy. Coming out of those discussions, and the praise Nevis got on the global stage, what specific partnerships, funding avenues, technical support was strengthened or initiated as a result of the summit, and how do you see those translating into tangible progress on the ground in the coming months?
Mr. Dixon, thank you for your question. I am not aware of anything that came specifically from the summit. The summit, of course, brought together stakeholders, it brought together policymakers. What I think the summit did was to really shine a spotlight on the geothermal project in Nevis. And let's not pretend. The geothermal project in Nevis is what's driving that narrative, what the people were most interested in that. And what it also did was it provided an opportunity for some who are interested in that project and have already indicated their interest. It provided an opportunity for them to visit and to visit the sites that we are looking at developing geothermal. So we have some of the companies that we hope will bid for the geothermal project, drilling phase, who are here physically, some at the level of their vice president, to look at the site and to make a determination as to how they move forward. The purpose then for me was really getting the word out, talking to people about what we are trying to do here, which, as I've indicated in many speeches I've given, is really transformative. That's the word I've been using because I think that this project, unlike any other project that we've been talking about over the years, has the potential to transform not only Nevis, but the entire Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. If you can imagine the people in Keon, the people in Molyneux, the people in Sandy Point, now accessing clean, cheap energy the same way that the people in Brown Hill, Jessops, Hanley's Road, Cotton Ground, Butlers, Brick Hill can benefit from that energy, I think we're talking about a huge transition, a huge transformation for our country. My ambition, Mr. Dixon, is that we will move from where we currently are, which in my opinion is an over-dependence on citizenship by investment and tourism, to having an energy-based economy. But unlike Saudi Arabia, unlike Norway, unlike Venezuela, our energy will be renewable energy. And that, I think, is the transformation that we're talking about. And that can only happen because the scientists are telling us that we have far more energy potential than we have the ability to consume at current rates. And so we are being told that we have some estimates up to 1,000 megawatts, 1 gigawatt of power available through geothermal. And our peak consumption at this point for the entire St. Kitts and Nevis is still only about 50 or so megawatts. So the truth is we'll have a tremendous amount of excess power. And we then start to talk about new industry, power to X, large data centers, green ammonia, green hydrogen, exporting that power to neighboring islands. We have a number of opportunities there, even in terms of ships. Now, as the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, forces the shipping industry to transform, because they, of course, are big polluters, and to say to them that they must now use more of renewable energies in the mix, that Nevis again will play a significant role. And I welcome again the participation of the federal government. I've said it at every turn that we have only gotten to where we've gotten because of the personal involvement of Prime Minister Drew. And he and I met during the first week of his becoming Prime Minister, and we committed to this project. What has that commitment delivered so far? 17 million US dollars from the Caribbean Development Bank. It has delivered 20 million US dollars from the Saudi Fund for Development. Those would not have been possible. And just so the public understands that while the Nevis Island Administration has the capacity to share information and engage with those organizations in terms of applications and the sharing of information, once they make a decision that they will make resources available, that the federal government has to sign off. We do not have the standing in Nevis to do it on our own. And that is why the partnership makes the most sense. And so I thank him, because we have moved further with his involvement and with this partnership than we have ever moved. And the benefits are obvious to both Nevis and St. Kitts. So that is where we are. We've also, I should add, had a visit in the last few months from Mafalda Duarte, who's the head of the Green Climate Fund. The Green Climate Fund manages over 15 billion US dollars of climate funds, and they are involved with this project here. They have pledged additional funding to this project, and we anticipate very much that their involvement will help us to get this project over the line. One last thing by way of update on geothermal is that we now expect that we will open bids at the end of June. You will recall, members of the press, that I came with 2 dates prior. We were supposed to be in February. We had some issues that those bids were non-responsive. And then we went to May because there were a number of questions to be answered. But because the very conference you speak of, Mr. Dixon, was happening in May, then some of the potential bidders asked if we could delay further to allow them the opportunity to pay a visit and to come physically. And so we did that. And so the end date now is the 30th of June, which is in a few days. And I'm hopeful that by the next press conference, I can make an announcement that the bids have been received and have been opened. And so for me, we're making real progress.
Good morning, Premier Brantley, Danella Thompson, Vaughan Radio.
Good morning.
So I just have 4 questions. The first, when can Nevisians expect the NIA Cabinet to disclose what the recommendations are or were in relation to the report about the revenue sharing that would have been in regards to the World Bank? For example, CBI monies between St. Kitts and Nevis. How has the increase in payments been thus far for Nevis's civil servants? In reference to the hospital wing project, is there any update, and has Taiwan conducted its assessment? And with the site already chosen and the slaughter equipment acquired for the broiler project, what are the next steps, and when would the project be expected to continue if it has ceased? Thank you.
Ms. Thompson, you were going faster than I could write, so please forgive me. I want to make sure that I address every aspect of what you raised. The fair share report, as it's been called in some quarters in the press, it's an important question that you've asked, and people have been asking that question. My response to you is that I hope that we'll be able to share something very soon. The reason I'm using the language of very soon rather than giving you a date is because our cabinet has to do its final deliberations and determination. I can tell you that the Honorable Prime Minister have spoken as recently as last week via WhatsApp, and we are due to meet to advance that discussion as well. And so we hope that we will have something in short order. I think we need to get through Music Fest and maybe Mango Fest, and then we get down now to talk about what we're doing in terms of this fair share issue. But the issue continues to be a live issue, and we expect that we'll be able to come back in short order and let you and the press, the public, know what's happening. Hospital project, yes, the Taiwanese have completed their evaluation. They've shared that with us. We have, however, gone back with some questions and are seeking some further clarifications from that company in Taiwan, and that we do not have that back as yet. Well, we are hopeful that we'll have that back. Our commitment is still to restart that project this year. That was what we said, and that is what we hope that we'll be able to do. Civil servants and their salary increases. Civil servants would have got salary increases, as you know, 15%. It was spread over 3 years. What we did, because it is not customary to have salary increases and increments in the same year. And so what we would have done while we were giving a salary increase, we froze increments. The salary increase process having been now completed, we have now unfrozen increments. And I think we did that as of April of this year. And so public servants in Nevis who are due increments will see those increments flowing to them as of April of this year. Having said that, we've made it very clear that increments will no longer be automatic. The idea behind increments was always that increments flow from satisfactory performance reviews. And over the years, unfortunately, people getting an increment, whether they came to work or not, whether they were a good worker or not, whether they performed or not. We're now saying that you'll get your increment once there's a satisfactory performance review. And so we're tying it to performance as we try to get closer to a pay for performance model. That we think is a much better model which motivates people to perform and to give of their best. And so that's happening, but increments are not automatic. Increments will come with an acceptable appraisal situation. The broiler project, I'm happy that you asked. We are in the process now of I think that the decision has been to order a particular type of building for it. And we have found a supply in Canada. I believe that the Honorable Spencer Brand, through the Ministry of Works, has been assisting us with that, he and his technical team. And the last I heard is that we had signed the agreement for the supply of this sort of a prefabricated type of building that we're going for. That was considered the most cost-effective way. And so I know that we've signed the agreement. I would imagine by now that we would have paid the down payment. And so I'm anticipating that this year for sure, we will have that off the ground and running. So that is the anticipation in relation to the broiler project. We did have some delays. The delays were really associated with the costing of the building, which was coming in much higher than we had anticipated. And so we had to go back to the drawing board to try to get a structure that didn't break the bank. And so we found, through the help of Minister Brand and his team, providers of a structure in Canada. And those are the people now we're trying to deal with to get that structure here on Ireland, get it erected, and then we can try to proceed. So we are seeing some light at the end of that tunnel, and we are hopeful that this year, so sure, we will have that structure in place so that we can move forward. So thank you for that. I really ought to have said that in my update, but you have jogged me, so I'm now able to say it to you and to the public.
Hello, good morning. My name is Frankila Butcher, and I'm from the St. Kitts Nevis Publishing Association.
Frankila?
Yes.
Okay. Bradshaw?
Yes.
Okay.
With a summer of activities anticipated on both St. Kitts and Nevis, how do you believe that the Nevis tourism sector would benefit, especially with the culture warmer and other activities planned?
Thank you very much, Ms. Bradshaw, for your question. How do we anticipate that we'll benefit? I think we'll benefit from more visitors, more traffic. You know, over the years, there's constantly been a debate. And so let me put the debate to rest. Culture Armor does not make money. Culture Armor loses money every year. The music festival does not make money. The music festival loses money every year. That's just the reality of these festivals. So a lot of times when people say, oh, you spend $1 million, how much you get at the gate? The gate receipts for Culture Armor can't even pay for the show that you went to see. The expectation is that there are added benefits. People coming home, people renting cars, people eating at the restaurants, people who are obviously, attending the shows. And then, of course, for Culturama, there's the added benefit of the preservation of our culture, because that's what Culturama was designed to do. So I say that to say that the impact has to be looked at in a holistic way across the entire economy. Every car that's rented, every guest house or hotel room that's sold, every meal at a restaurant, every sale that our vendors make, our hair tech, that's the right word, hairdresser, sorry, nail tech, hairdresser, right? The Sherry's Beauty World and Chop Shop and all the people around, right? Music festival alone, someone told me that one vendor in St. Kitts said that they're sold out. They can't accommodate anybody. They can't do any more faces. That's it. You see Nevisians going down to St. Kitts to get their face done. Kittitians coming up to Nevis. I had some friends who came over last weekend. So what are you in Nevis to do? To get their eyelashes done. Right? They're doing eyelashes, we're doing eyebrows. We're doing all kinds of things. That's small business. And that's where I think you see a lot of the impact of these festivals, which may not be up there in lights. And I think our people need to recognize that those impacts which touch people. When I went to ask where this little eyelash place was, it was actually a little studio that this person has at their home. Young person making something, using their skill and using their talent. But it's in demand because everybody wants new lashes. I myself want to go tomorrow to get mine done for music festival. You the members of the press chips in. I mean, I don't understand. Some things seem to only for the ladies. Why the gentlemen can't get long eyelashes as well? So the idea really is that the spin-offs in the economy, those are what really I think matter, and when we measure the impact of that. So the short answer to your question is I anticipate that Nevis will benefit. Nevis is going to benefit even from the music festival. Some may look at that and say, what are you talking about, because it's not in Nevis. But imagine the thousands of Nevisians who will be traveling back and forth on the water taxis. All of them have special schedules. Who owns the water taxis? The Nevisian-owned industry at this point. Nevisians will be benefiting, those nail techs and eyelash tech and hair tech and all the techs. They will be benefiting from people who want to look their best for the music festival. People who are selling clothing. I hate to use anecdotal stories, but a friend of mine said that 4th Street was almost closed off the other day because some lady on 4th Street who sells products for ladies, including weave, she got her shipment in for Music Fest. And there were a number of delivery vans along 4th Street delivering her products. So we will benefit. In terms of Nevis, I'm also understanding that some people who could not find accommodation in St. Kitts for the Music Fest are actually choosing to stay in Nevis and will ferry over back and forth to the music festival. So that's the way it works. Similarly, when there's an event on Nevis, people choose sometimes to stay on St. Kitts for the Mango Festival. There will be people staying at the Marriott or the Park Hyatt who will come over and enjoy the Mango Festival. These islands are so close. It's 2 miles, 5-6 minutes by water taxi. It makes it very easy to stay in one and enjoy the other. When we had the annual Nevis to St. Kitts swim recently, we had hundreds of people staying on St. Kitts who were participating with their families in the swim. So the truth is that I think that these events benefit both islands: Restaurant Week, Mango Festival, Music Festival, Culturama. There can't be any successful Culturama in Nevis without the participation of those who are coming from St. Kitts and those who are also staying in St. Kitts, and vice versa. I guarantee you that there will be thousands of Nevisians in St. Kitts for Music Festival. Can't succeed without the whole of the country participating. And that's, I think, something that we should be proud of and something that we should encourage. And so I anticipate significant spin-offs in the local economy from this summer of fun. And it's really a summer of fun because literally you're going from Music Festival to Mango Festival, Restaurant Week, Culturama. back to back to back to back. And then as soon as you're done with Culturama, you have a little breather and then you're into independence. So it's really a sum of a lot of activities happening in St. Kitts and Nevis. I'm sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Javinstia Jeffers and a reporter at The Observer. I'd like to know if it's possible to provide a status update regarding the Nisbet Plantation Inn. It's been halting, and according to developers, some concerning factors were mentioned, including the noise, the height of the planes brought on by the flight path that would fly directly over the new proposed development. An aviation consultant was identified by the developers to help analyze the impact of the flight path. Developers were told that flights would not fly overhead, and developers requested a flight path plan and technical details to support that, but numerous attempts were unsuccessful. The concern about needing to redesign or modify the airport layout or the flight path for the project to start. Considering some of these concerns and the importance of the project, would the redesign or modification of the airport and flight path be something to consider? If no changes are made to the flight path, what long-term effects might this have on the new future development of the proposed inn? And lastly, where does it go from there? Some renderings were sent. What are some of the immediate steps that can be taken for the project to commence? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your question. And this issue of Nisbet Plantation has been quite a vexed issue, because those who know Nisbet know that Nisbet Plantation has always existed next to the airport. That is not something new. And that these new buyers have purchased a hotel that is next to an airport. What the new buyers are seeming to suggest is that they have purchased some additional 10 acres of land, which was hitherto undeveloped land. And that is the piece that is closest to the airport. They have raised the concern that the flight path, they're saying that will planes be flying over the resort. Our experts have told them no, that will not happen. They are, however, insisting that that will happen. So there's a difference of opinion among the experts. I'm not an expert, but we have a technical team that has been advising us, Paris Consulting, and Paris has said to them that's not an issue. They have then raised the issue of noise and say, well, these planes taking off is going to create more noise for our resort. And Paris has done, I saw a schematic that they created showing the noise, the cones of noise, and again they suggest that there will be minimal impact. But of course the proposed developers at Nisbet continue to insist that this will impact their project. They're asking us to redesign our airport project. That's not possible. I mean, the truth is that we've been working at this project now for more than a decade. We have had a number of public consultations on this project as we try to move it forward. We have secured funding. We are ready to go. In fact, the last aspects of this project now are just to get our property landowners paid and to get some concerns that planning has expressed, to get those concerns addressed. But other than that, we're shovel ready. We're ready to go. And so the idea now of going back to redesign the airport to accommodate what Nisbet, these developers are saying, are their concerns, when our experts are saying these are not legitimate concerns because this impact is not what they say it will be. In addition to which, we have a dilemma because the developers at Nisbet have not really developed or proposed a plan. There's no architectural design. There is no, it's just vacant land at this point. And of course, the old abandoned hotel, which is really not at issue. It is only this 10 acres that is closest. We have said to them, if it was that they had actually architectural drawings and had spent money to develop something, engineering and all of that, then we would be comparing side by side our plan for the airport and their plan for Nisbet. In reality, all they've given us is an artist rendering of what they think they can do, a concept. And concept is not a plan, as we know. That is not something that would have gone to planning or had the input of planning. So there, if anybody is to adjust, I think it's far easier for them to adjust because they have not yet actually come up with their drawings and their detailed proposals. So if, for example, there's any adjustment that they feel necessary, then it's far easier for them because currently they have a vacant ground. There's nothing there. We have said that we have the airport, and this is the way we're going to expand the airport. Now, please remember that the airport is expanding the length of the runway is what is most critical, because only with that can we accommodate more aircraft, larger aircraft. And we're building it for what we call the Embraer 175, which is a regional jet that American Airlines is using out of Miami. They're currently flying that to Anguilla, and I'm told to Dominica. So that's a jet that we're using. I was in Miami some months ago, and as I was passing by the big board showing the flights, I saw 2 flights going to Anguilla being announced. And I thought to myself, that's where we want to get, where we have flights direct from Miami. But these are the smaller planes that seat about 70 to 80 passengers. That's what we are trying to cater to. And our modeling has said, our experts have said that by the time those flights take off and rotate, that the impact on Nisbet will not be significant. Nisbet is insisting that it will have a significant impact on these 10 acres of land. That's where we are. So we've said to them, you know, if there's adjustment that's necessary to mitigate the impact that you say it will have, then you have the ample opportunity to mitigate because you have not yet started your design. You have not yet put anything down or involved your experts, and simply sending an artist rendering of what concept you have is really not a development. That's not a proposal. That's only saying, well, this is how I think it's going to look. If you, for example, saw what the artist rendering of the Malcolm Gishard Park looked like, and then you see what was ultimately built, you can see that there can be some departure as you look at what is suggested, what somebody thinks will be there. But when you get on the ground, that area, for example, is an area that is a very swampy area. Is that area even buildable? We don't know, because nothing has gone to planning. You know, what would building out a resort on those 10 acres look like in terms of the social and environmental impact assessment, to the wetlands that are in the area, to the breeding grounds for fish that are in the area? None of that we know. So we are saying to them, you know, I think that there's opportunity for them to mitigate rather than to say to us that we must go back to the drawing board to redesign a project that has been in the works for over a decade, and a project which, frankly, the island needs. And frankly, they too, if they ever do a development, will need, because without air access, you have a difficulty getting guests in. So it's a win-win project for everyone, and I'm just hopeful that they will look at it and see that there is a much larger value proposition to them and to the island by having this airport done, and for them then to do their design in a way that can mitigate against the concerns that they say they have, which of course our experts refute and say that those concerns are misplaced. So that's where we are at this point. We have had a number of good conversations with the developers. I've met with them here, and my view that I've expressed here is the view that I've expressed to them. And we're looking at ways to mitigate. And I'm not sure where that will ultimately wind up, but we have not ruled anything out. We are engaging with them. But we do say and do insist that the people of Nevis need an enhanced runway. We need an enhanced airport. The last development that was done at the Van Samuel was over 20 years ago. And aviation has moved beyond us right now. That is why over there they say it's a ghost town. They say there's nothing over there. And the truth is that our infrastructure is obsolete. We need to make that investment. It's a significant investment. We have the money is lined up. It's just a question for us now to execute. And so that's where we are on that. We regret very much that there's been this impasse, but we feel that the developers at Nisbet, if they're serious, can do what is necessary. Bearing in mind, as I say, that the 10 acres that they're making the most noise about are currently vacant. There's nothing there. Nothing there. Swamplands. The other area that the existing hotel is on, we thought, for example, that they could have gone ahead and developed that area, improve that area, get people back to work, get the hotel back open, but they have not done any such. So they seem to be focused on what they intend to do on the vacant area rather than trying to rehabilitate or recover the existing Nisbet plantation. So it's a matter for them. They've bought the property, and nothing has happened over there thus far. We're optimistic that we can get to a middle ground where the project can move forward, because we think it will be a good project for Nevis. But in the event that they are not minded, then obviously they have the capacity to transfer that project to some other developer who might be more inclined to do that development. And we expect and anticipate that we will have those conversations and come to an understanding that leaves everyone at least happy going forward. But there can be no doubt, and I want to make it very clear, that the airport project is proceeding and has to proceed. That is for the long-term benefit of the people of Nevis and the wider Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Good morning, LK Hewlett, Department of Information. The 30-plus acres of land at Garner's estate, I think it was about 36 acres if I'm correct. Has there been any sort of preparation in terms of infrastructure, and how many persons are estimated to benefit from the NIA's land purchase? How much water is estimated from this new well at Brazier's, and have the other 2 wells at Madden's been connected to the water distribution system? And my third and final question. Since taking office, the CCM party has been making significant investment in water and electricity. What impact does having reliable utilities have on economic development and attracting foreign investment? Thanks.
Okay, Ms. Hewlett, thank you very much. The 36 acres at Garner's estate, I would have come before to announce, and I think we also did so in the Parliament, that the government has purchased some 36 acres of land at Garner's. If you're wondering where Garner's estate is, it's where the VOJN Primary School, above the VOJN Primary School, going up into the hills. We had an initiative there some time ago where we made lands available to our university graduates at $1 EC a square foot. That was done to encourage university graduates to buy and to invest. And some beautiful homes have been erected in that area. It is really emerging as a middle-income and upper-middle-income neighborhood. Beautiful views from up there, and we expect that these 36 acres will help to add. The intention is to subdivide and to price those lands in a way that will pay for the infrastructure that has to go in. So the roads. So what will happen is the subdivision will be done. The subdivision will show the lots and the roads. There's a process to that. The surveyors, of course, have to be involved. We've involved our engineers. We've involved the people at the Water Department, the people at NEVLEC, to determine what the costing is going to be like. And then we are working a process where we then determine the price in terms of what we sell those lands for. That process, the whole subdivision also needs to get planning approval, so we're going through that process. A very detailed, lengthy, and technical process, but the idea is that when people buy there, we want them to know that they have the comfort of knowing that they'll have the infrastructure put in to service their lots. As of last night, I'm advised by the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation, which will be the entity charged with carrying this through, that we expect just about 170 to 180 lots, which translates, we hope, into 170, 180 new homes in that area, which we think then will make it a very, very nice, as I said, middle to upper middle class type, middle to upper middle income type neighborhood. And that is what we're trying to create. You know, people normally say that the NHLDC is involved in low-income housing. The truth is that there's very little low-income housing in Nevis anymore. The housing and the cost now of houses, I don't think you can call them low-income. We have middle-income housing. And then when you look at the quality, if you go to Madden's, you see the kind of quality housing that has been produced. You realize that we are creating communities that are sustainable and that have good housing. In fact, some of them have good enough land space that later, if people want to expand, they also have that possibility. So we anticipate, it had been my hope, Ms. Hewlett, to have those lands available for Culturama 51. It doesn't look like that's going to be possible based on the progress that I've seen. But nevertheless, this year, we hope to have those lands available on the market. And we are already getting attention from Nevisians abroad who are looking to purchase. I'm also saying to our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts that if you're also interested in purchasing, then obviously. And so, Ms. Hewlett, you can purchase a lot, of course. Or you're officially in Nevision now. Okay. Welcome to Nevis. You can purchase lots, of course, that are available there. So we anticipate that we will have 150 plus opportunities there, give or take. The lots are going to be what we call moderate-sized lots. I think they're going to be between, say, 8 to 10,000 square feet. Those are lot size. I think maybe 8,500 would probably be more the lot size, which really allows you ample space to build an adequate home and have land space to landscape. Hopefully, if you're like me, you encourage people to landscape with fruit trees, not with ornamentals. So you have something to eat while you beautify your surroundings as well. Water at Braziers, how much water we anticipate getting, I truly don't know. I think that these are situations where they anticipate finding water, but then actual how much water will be produced, they're not yet sure. And of course, the quality of that water, we'll have to test it to make sure it's potable. So I can't answer that question. The wells at Maddens, have they been connected yet? The last report we had from Minister Brand was that they were negotiating the cost of that connection with Nevis, but they had a generator in the meantime. Let me go back, sorry. The connection, because of the pumping, you needed electricity on the site. And so they had a temporary generator there, but they were negotiating with Nevis to get power to the site in order to run the pumps so that the water from the well could go into the system. But from what I understand, the actual connection in terms of the pipes connecting that to the main island system, that work has been done. It's only a question of the pumps and getting power for those. So that's where we are. Reliable utilities. Ms. Hewlett, I'm happy you asked that question because I think a lot of people have not properly understood what this government, even though we talk about it, people still aren't quite sure what the developmental pathway that we have taken looks like. We recognize that a major impediment to investment is the lack of proper infrastructure. You can't get a new hotel development, you can't get a major housing development or anything like that. You can't get even a large factory unless you can give them water, electricity, unless you can give them roads that they can traverse, unless you can say to a hotel, listen, we have an airport that you can bring your people in. These are all aspects of development. And I think a lot of times when people see us investing in roads, the road network, investing in water, investing in electricity, they don't make the connection as to that, how does that impact the investment climate more generally on the island. And I can tell you that we have really done an excellent job in terms of water. We've done an excellent job in terms of road infrastructure. And we have done an excellent job in terms of electricity. There's more work to be done, especially in terms of electricity, because as demand has increased, what we've found is that we're operating now very close to the margins of what we can supply. And so we clearly have to increase our capacity, but that's where now renewables come in, because we have said we don't want to go and buy more engines. We want to be able to use renewables. So that's the thinking. And investors coming in are going to look at that. We are now discussing a significant development on part of the island. And one of the questions they ask is, can you bring water to the site? Can you bring electricity to the site? And those are important questions. Now, if you have a situation where water is scarce or it keeps locking off, shutting off, you can't supply, then investors are going to know that their cost then is going to be increased dramatically because they probably have to supply their own water, which means they have to build a desalination plant. And if they're not close to the sea, then what happens? That means they have to go and drill wells of their own or something. But when the government has invested in infrastructure, and I keep saying to the people of Nevis, we take a lot of things. Somebody said, I use the expression that we take it for granted, and that was pejorative. I didn't mean it in a bad way. We take it for normal, what we now see as normal in Nevis. And, especially our younger people. Our younger people don't have no idea of water shutting off and 8 o'clock every night, water gone off, and have to go by the village dam to fill up a bucket with water. We don't have any concept of that. We don't have any concept in Nevis of when water come on, you fill up containers and have all kind of jug and drum and kit in your house full of water. Those days are behind us in Nevis. And so when I said that people take it for granted, all I was meaning to say is that these things are now normal in Nevis, that you have water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Nobody thinks twice about it. In fact, If water goes off for an hour in Nevis, you hear the howls. The howls, because people now say that you're inconveniencing them, which is true, right? So but that did not happen overnight, and that happened by accident. We have since 2013, when this government got back into office, we have invested now somewhere close to 50 million EC dollars in our water infrastructure. I don't know if you all remember a time when all of Nevis looks like it was under construction, because all along the sides of the road were dug up. We were planting new pipes. We were replacing the old cast iron pipes with the new, I'm sure you all saw them, some blue polyurethane pipes. We were fusing them together using a butt fusion machine, which we invested in the necessary machinery. We trained our teams so that they could do the work. And we were able to not only replace these cast iron pipes, but we were able to increase the width of the pipes, the circumference, whatever the language is, the carrying capacity. So where some areas had only a 2-inch pipe, you've increased that to 4-inch, for example. And what that does, it helps us to deal with issues such as low water pressure in many of the areas. And wherever we have done a road in Nevis, Bath, Brownhill, wherever. Right now, a road is being done up there in Brown Pastures, I reported on, Modern Estate. We put in water infrastructure underneath. So a lot of times when our people say that they don't see anything happening, it's because you drive on what's happening all day, every day. You drive along the road, you're not paying attention that under the road, we have invested $30, $40 million in pipes and new connections and new connectivity. Just take it for granted, right? Similarly, if you're like me and you go off-road in Nevis and you go up into the various hills, you see that a number of large aquastone tanks have been installed. Those are all storage tanks. So in Nevis, we had a very methodical plan. We developed the distribution network first, improved that. Then we invested significantly in new tanks. In fact, we're in the process now of ordering yet another tank, which is supposed to go up there in the Morning Star area. And now the third phase is we're finding more water. To us, it didn't make any sense to try to find more water first, and then you don't have any way to store the water. So we decided to do it in a methodical way. And so we developed the distribution, new pipes, new connections all around the island. Then we put new storage tanks, and we fixed some old storage tanks that were leaking. And as I said, we're about now to order yet another storage tank. And then now we're finding new water. So when we find new water now, we have the storage already in place, we have the distribution already in place. So the ability to positively impact the lives of our people is immediate. We are not finding water, and then when we find the water, we can't distribute it or we can't store it. So our plan has been quite methodical, and maybe it's a failing of the government that we have not always explained enough times to our people what exactly we are doing. But the answer to your question is the investment. In terms of electricity, this administration has bought, I believe in the last decade, we've bought 3 gensets at Nevlik. I know that we got, I believe, 2 sets from Watsilla, brand new, and we had another set that came in that I think had been refurbished. So we bought 3 sets in the last decade and a half. That's significant. One of those generating sets is about $6 million US. So again, whilst there's been a lot of chatter, we have been doing the things that are necessary so that our people have the basic infrastructure that they need, and that investors coming in can look at the island and say, okay, well, we could have a golf course, we could have a resort because water is not a problem. But if water is shutting off every day, water is inconsistent, and people are going to look at it and say, well, how will you supply me? I want to build a 4-season resort. How do I get water? That's a major, major issue. So we have been doing, I think, quietly an excellent job here on the island in terms of building out that basic infrastructure. And that foundational infrastructure is critical if you're going to attract significant investment and serious attention from the rest of the world. Anything further for me?
So good morning again. Just an additional question. I know you would have spoken about Culturama this year. So with Culturama 51 on the horizon, have all vendors from Culturama 50 last year been paid to date? Thank you.
The short answer is that the last report we got was that all vendors from Culturama 50 had been paid. We made that announcement. The difficulty, of course, with vendors and payment is that I'm told by the Culturama committee that after we made the announcement that all vendors had been paid, we had one or two vendors who said they forgot to submit their bill. Well, if you did work since a year ago and you forgot to submit your bill, then things must be very good with you. That's all I can say, because some say they did not remember to submit their bills. And so we had some additional bills that came in, and just I think 2 or 3 vendors. So we're trying to do our best to deal with those now. So had you asked me this question 2 weeks ago, I would have said, yes, we have paid everybody. But unfortunately, in that period of time, I think 2 vendors have come forward to say that they had some bills that they thought they'd submitted, but in fact had not submitted. And so we now need to grapple with those as well. So, but those will be taken care of in the usual course. And of course, I apologize to vendors who had to wait. What I will say, however, is that all vendors were paid as we were going. So while you heard some making a hullabaloo, the truth is that in many cases they had already received substantially all of what was owed to them. Some who were making the most noise were owed the least money because they had been collecting periodically as we went. But nevertheless, when people work, they want to be paid. And what I will say, though, on the issue of vending is that the government has noticed that we have been subject to, I don't know what language I could use to convey to the press, but I want to be delicate. So let us say some unfair billing practices. Basically, we have discovered that some people have been charging us triple and double, triple and quadruple what they should be charging. And so we have said very clearly to the Culturama committee this year that wherever possible we want bids. We want people to submit in advance what the cost of this is going to be. Because what was happening is that people were being asked to do work, and then after the work came in, you saw this humongous bill that came. And for many, it appears that Culturama is the only time that they have work, that they're employed, and so they figure, well, let us take advantage of this opportunity. And so what we have seen is the cost of Culturama just keeps escalating. And we're not doing anything new, we're not doing anything dramatically different, but the costs are exponentially increasing. And that's because of the costing that some of our vendors are trying to pass to us. And so we have said that we need that to stop, and we need to control that far better. And so this year we have asked the Culturama committee to be far more vigilant in terms of the cost and what is charged. You know, sometimes, Ms. Thompson, the ethics of what we do in government do not permit me to come here and to start to name names and name amounts. But I think all of us would be shocked if we saw some of the dollar values associated with some of the services that people here provide for Culturama. A lot of those who are the loudest noise makers about how much they love Nevis and how much they love culture, and culture is in them and their culture. When it comes time to that payment, you know, there is no no compromise, no relent, no, you know, they're demanding top dollar. And in our opinion, sometimes excessive amounts. And I just use one example. In St. Kitts for Carnival, I'm told, I hope what I'm told is correct, but in St. Kitts for Carnival, for Juve, for example, I'm told that the bands that are on the road have to find their way on the road, meaning that their truck, their trailer, their generator, their sound system, all of those things are their responsibility. And they then get sponsors, but they sell packages, they have their troupe and whatever. That's what the bands in St. Kitts do. Now, if they win, the road march, I think they get $25,000, which is a significant prize money. But clearly it could only have one winner. In Nevis, the bands on the road, the government pays for everything. We pay for the truck, the trailer, the sound system, we pay for the generator, and then the bands are also saying you also have to pay us to play. So we also pay a performance fee to the bands. So a lot of times when I hear the hubbub, the people need to understand that that is what happens in Nevis. In St. Kitts, the St. Kitts Carnival Committee doesn't pay for any of that. They pay a much larger price, because the price in Nevis for road march is, I think, only $3,500. But each band in Nevis on the road, when it's costed out, is costing the taxpayers between $25,000 and $30,000 to be on the road. When you add in all of those costs that I've identified. And so, is it the time now to move to the St. Kitts model, where you say to the bands, you get yourself on the road. If you win, then you get $25,000. If we did it that way, we would save a lot of money. So I say to the bands and the other vendors and providers, that's what we need is a partnership. This aggression that I'm seeing from somewhere, they almost want to hold Culturama to ransom. Culturama isn't Mark Brantley. It isn't the CCM party that's in office at this point. Culturama is us. It's our festival. It represents and reflects us. And many people don't actually understand the extent of the cost to the taxpayer of having these bands on the road. And I'm mentioning bands because that's a very good example, but also some of the other vendors and having them on the road. So in Nevis, we pay for everything, everything. And then the bands say, in addition, you must pay us a performance fee to be on the road. So we pay for trailer, tractor, truck, generator, sound system, and the band members say, no, you must also pay us money to play. So we pay them as well. Then some of the bands turn around now and they sell packages to revelers. We realize if the band, everything being paid for by the government, and the band then sells packages, you realize that's like you having a business, and everything you sell in the business is paid for by somebody else, and then you start to sell to people out there. That has been what has been happening in Nevis. And when we say to our vendors, listen, let's sit down. We should all be on the same side. We should all be working together. Make Culturama bigger, make it better. How can we work together? Right? Culturama time is a time when, unfortunately, to move this bottle of water from day to day, people want money. You got to pay. I want this, and they not just saying, give me a stipend they want. And that is why I give so much credit to the Culturama Committee, because these are people who serve year after year, and they're not paid. These are people who volunteer to serve. And they are, to me, they embody the spirit of Culturama, because they are the ones who really come forward and put themselves out there. When the criticism comes, they get criticized, but nobody sees the effort that they put in. And they put in that effort for no reward in terms of financial reward. Their reward is to see the festival move forward. You have others out there who are basically selling a product, and to sell that product, you have to pay them. So you're paying them to buy the product from them. That is how some of them see Culturama. So I think there's a room here for really a genuine discussion on what I've said. And the Cabinet has said to the Minister, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, is that when Culturama 51 is over, we need to sit down with stakeholders and we need to have a real conversation. Not to have a situation where people are out there antagonizing the population and seeking to create strife and seeking to create friction because there's no need. And as I said, most of it is that we are not able to respond. Because if I can respond and say to the press, members of the press, this is how much Band A was paid last Culturama. This is when they get this amount of money, this is, you'll start to see, right, that some of the things that are being said are just untrue and unfair and designed to create difficulty when really there ought to be no difficulty. Right? I've seen statements put out and a barrage of comments and negativity towards the Culturama Committee and the government, and then it turns out the statements aren't true, aren't factual. Nobody comes back to say, well, we apologize that this was said because it wasn't true. The statement just disappears. They just remove it. Then what? It's done out there and everybody say, oh, with this, with that, and with the other, and with the terror. Right? And so these are some of the things that are unfortunate. And I would just ask everybody, listen, if we are truly committed to Culturama, and if Culturama is truly reflective of us as a people, then rather than some trying to use it to create tension and, frankly, political, division, let's get together, because the government of Nevis inputs significant millions of dollars into Culturama. And a lot of people like to then complain and say Culturama wasn't good, it wasn't fun, as if it's the government. I don't know how to play an instrument, and I can't sing. I can't even dance. So it's not me as the premier who's putting on Culturama. Culturama is being put on by the very people who are the creatives. They're the ones. So if we succeed or if we fail, a lot of that has to do with them. What is the quality of music that's being generated? What are the quality of the troops that are on the road? What is the level of participation of our people in the troops? All of that is a reflection of us, the people of Nevis. And so I encourage everybody to get on board. Culturama 51 is happening. It's our annual showcase. The Culturama committee has gone through some changes. Of course, Abernathy Liebert is no longer with us. He was Mr. Culture for a long time. I want to thank him. This year we have as our patron Mr. Suti Byron, Halstead Byron, who is also Mr. Culture. I want to thank him for accepting the honor and coming on board with us. But we need our creatives on board, and we need people to stop trying to inject politics into Culturama. There's no room for it, and there's no need for it. Because whoever is standing on this rostrum as Premier of Nevis, from whichever party, we hope that Culturama will survive and continue to thrive. And we can only do that if all the people in Nevis are engaged and involved. I'm not, and let me make it clear, trying to stifle discussion. I'm not saying that if people are grieved about something, they ought not to have a forum to have their grievances addressed. But some of the commentary that I'm seeing are unfortunate and, as I said, oftentimes untrue. And a lot of the members of the public are going along with it because they don't know the facts. They don't know the specifics of the cost and what it costs them, because at the end of the day, it's not costing ministers or cabinet members. Directly, it's costing the people of Nevis. We are the ones who are spending money to put on Culturama. And it is for us to determine whether we're getting value for money when we see some of the money that people are asking us to spend to host and execute Culturama each year. Having said all that, I'm looking for partnership. I'm looking for cooperation, and I'm hoping that the stakeholders out there, especially our creators, that they can come on board and partner with the government, whichever government, partner with the government and ensure that our Culturama is a true reflection of all of us, because Culturama is we, and we are Culturama.
Elke Hewlett, Department of Information, good morning again. While we're on that topic, as a matter of full disclosure, shouldn't the government have the Culturama committee make its accounts public? That way, when the people can see exactly where it is that their money, which is their tax money, where it's going and to whom, and then maybe that will finally, put an end to that discussion. Also, in terms of the lands at Garner's, is it going to be a situation where the NHLDC is going to, like how the government did it before, which is you applied to get the whole package, land, house, everything, from your bank, and then the NHLDC, I think, executes? Or is it going to be that I sell you the land and you can build whenever you want, or whatever the situation may end up as? I also have some questions from Glenn Batt from SKN Newsline. He asks, reflecting on the Global Sustainable Island Summit, could you comment on the important takeaways for you in terms of advancing geothermal energy development on Nevis? I think Mr. Dixon would have asked something similar. As the NIA's Ministry of Tourism prepares for the next tourism season, what would you say were the most important achievements of the past season, and what are the marketing and the promotion focuses for the upcoming season? Thirdly, in terms of small business development on Nevis, What do you believe are the essential needs at this point to grow the sector while improving the level of resilience in the sector? And that's from Glenn Batt, SKN Newsline.
Thank you, Ms. Hewlett, and thank you, Mr. Bart, if he's listening. I agree with you that the account should be published, and that is certainly something that we would need to discuss. I think that what would ordinarily happen is that there's a sort of broad disclosure during the budget discussions as we prepare year by year, but we have never published a detailed breakdown of the accounts showing vendors and amounts paid to vendors, etc. That's a matter that we should discuss. We have not traditionally in Nevis done that, even though it's public business, because of course some vendors do not want their information to be out there in the public domain. But it's something certainly that I think is worthwhile discussing so that our people could have a realistic sense of what this festival costs them, because ultimately it's their money that's spent it. So, Ms. Hewlett, thank you for that. It's something we can take on board. Land at garners, the suggestion at this point is that we're only going to be offering land so that persons will buy their land and build when they want to build. But I would anticipate that we would have some restrictive covenants on the lands in terms of what can be built and what cannot be built. You don't want, for example, in a neighborhood that you're trying to create, to have people come with a mechanic garage or a manufacturing plant next to you, or somebody storing, aggregate or selling, or have a truck depot, backhoe and truck next to you. So we'll have to insert some of that because we're trying to create a nice neighborhood over there for our people to invest in. As I said, we're opening it up to everyone. People here, people abroad, that is Nevisians and Kittians abroad, and people in St. Kitts as well. In relation to Mr. Bart's comments, in terms of important takeaways from the summit, I think I spoke to that when Mr. Dixon asked the question in terms of where we are in geothermal. So I don't know that there's any value in repeating what I said. Mr. Bart, no discourtesy to you, but I would have mentioned quite a bit of what we thought was useful about it. But for me, the major takeaway was the fact that St. Kitts and Nevis was featured. We were the main attraction, and the geothermal project was the headliner in terms of that show that was put on. People are very, very interested, very excited about this project, and the fact that well over 100 people, in fact I would suggest maybe it was more like over 200 people gathered at the Marriott, was significant. Tourism season, where we doing in terms of, I've again outlined in my update what we've done in terms of our new campaign. We're going to continue to roll out our initiatives. We anticipate and we are trying to organize an event at Martha's Vineyard in the United States that we hope that we'll be able to do sometime early summer as people plan their holidays for the winter. We're hopeful that we'll be able to capitalize on that. If you ask why Martha's Vineyard, is because that's where the wealthy of America go for their summers. And so we want to go there and have an event, which is a uniquely Nevision event. Nevis is marketing itself in a unique way. As I said, one of the things we're doing is having smaller, focused events. So we're not going to as many trade shows and all of that. We're focused on events when it's all about Nevis. Everywhere you look is Nevis. So while that event may only have 100 people, it's 100 people focused on the Nevis. And so that's the approach that we're taking because we think it's a better expenditure, it's better spend for our money. We're also, Mr. Bart, looking to enhance our capacity at the Nevis Tourism Authority. We have been searching for a new CEO, and we continue that process, but we're also hiring and bringing on new talent at the NTA in order to build out the NTA and what we offer. One of the exciting new developments that we anticipate having there is to build out a concierge service for VIP guests and what the industry refers to as small groups. I think they have a term for it, MICE, I think is the term. This is like, when you have smaller groups, incentive groups that are coming in. We have, for example, recognized that there is out there a number of people who are celebrating birthdays. Apparently it's a big thing, celebrating anniversaries, where people travel in large groups, 30, 40 people, friends, traveling together to celebrate a milestone. And we have never capitalize on that market. We're starting to do so. We had a group of 22 women here recently, African American women, who came to celebrate somebody's 50th birthday, and we're now trying to capitalize. So this new initiative from us will focus on that type of activity. I should also say that we are heavily focused on the African American, the affluent African American market. We recognize that there was a gap in our marketing, that we're not attracting enough African Americans, since our main market is the East Coast of the United States, and there are many wealthy African Americans along that corridor. We thought that it was useful if we re-engage, and that is why we appointed Candy Carter as a diversity ambassador for us, and we have made great strides in that regard. In fact, when we go to Martha's Vineyard, which we hope to do, that will be a main focus of what we're trying to do. So our marketing is very focused. It is very, very clear in terms of what we are trying to do. We are not engaged in any mass marketing or any scatter-shot approach. And then what we also want to do, we've also hired someone to head our digital marketing side of things, and we're trying to put more of our budget into digital marketing. The digital marketing tools now are so excellent that they could reach people in specific zip codes, in specific neighborhoods in the US. So if you were to say, all right, most of our people are coming out of New York, just drawing a reference, you can then look to the wealthiest communities in New York and target your ads specifically to those people. That's the value now of, you know, I may confuse the terminology, but they talk about geotagging, you know, geolocating, sending your information just to the eyes and the ears. And that type of focus approach is far more effective than if you were just send out a blast to everybody. If you send out a blast to everybody, it costs you, but the diffusion of that message to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people is far better that you send it to 500 people who could actually afford to come to Nevis than to send it to 100,000 people, most of whom say, oh, that looks good, but can't afford to go there. So we are being very targeted and very specific. And so, Mr. Bart, one of the areas would be, one of the demographics would be African American. In terms of small business sector, we continue. It's a sector that's important to us. This government has made a genuine effort to support financially. I've spoken time and time again about the $5 million that we made available to small businesses through low interest loans. Those loans are now down to 3% interest. Started at 4, we've now dropped it to 3. And many have gotten seed money of up to 100,000 EC dollars to start or expand an existing business. We did limit it to youth, there's people under 35, and women of all ages, because women and youth were the two target groups. So we did that. That has had great uptake. We've also been going around, and I'm sure some of you have seen the ads. We're actually going to small businesses, taking our production team, meeting them, doing an ad for them, putting it out there at no cost to them, speaking to them, engaging with them. It allows us, some of them you see the ministers, it allows us to get a sense of what the challenges are and what areas they're involved in. And it's been a very well-received initiative. Like, I went to a little restaurant and the lady told me that since she was featured, she has so many more customers coming there, because a lot of our people have excellent product that they're offering, but the people just don't know about it. And so the government taking it as an initiative to promote small businesses has really helped a lot of them in putting them on the map, so to speak. So it's a matter that we continue to work and to support as much as we can. Mr. Bart, I wish I had $100 million to just tell every small business person to come and get some, but that's not the case. So we just have to continue to do the things that we're doing. But I think the innovation of going out and doing ads for them, promoting them in that way, where, you know, they're on social media, which, as you know, is a huge marketplace now. Everybody's on social media. That's the big link up, the big meetup is on social media, and we're pushing these out throughout all of our platforms: Facebook, Instagram, X, and I see that we now have TikTok as well. So we are pushing out as much information as we can. And also, I think these run on NTV as well. I think the ads run on NTV as well. So we're doing this, and as I said, it's at no cost to those small businesses. This is our way of trying to encourage and expose them a bit more. And we are also, let me just say, Mr. Bart, in our hiring practices, whenever we're having events, we're doing catering, we're doing decorating, we want a bartender, whatever we're doing, we also try to involve the small businesses in that as well, to allow them an opportunity to, expose in terms of, for exposure in terms of their business and what they offer. So we're trying our best, Mr. Bart, and we'll continue to try to do as much as we can.
Good morning again, Javincia Jeffers from The Observer. I have a quick question as it relates to agriculture, and it's geared towards the farmers. There is a demand for the plow, and I was told that there is one plow for the whole island, while this one plow also deals with the government lands, and also considering other factors too that can delay the process, meaning rain. Is it possible in the near future to secure additional funding for at least an additional plow to ease the burden on that one plow and the extended wait periods that farmers have to go through? Thank you.
Short answer, Ms. Jeffers, is yes. This is a matter that we have to consider. Of course, the difficulty with small governments, small island governments like ours, is always financing. And you always have competing needs for that financing. I'll give you an example. The ETW Park was not on the cards for any upgrade this year. But when the Cricket Association advised us that they were going to be able to host, or Nevis was going to be hosting the under-19, we had to find resources right away to try and do some upgrades there so as to make the area more presentable for the cricket. That's an example, I think, of sometimes the difficulty in managing the resources, because we end up with expenditure sometimes that is unbudgeted for, unexpected sometimes. This is an area that I would take up with the Minister of Agriculture. I do know that he did report at some point that we had some equipment breakdowns. I'm not sure that we only have one plow. It may well be that maybe we have one plow that's functional. So I'll try to find out that. But I want to say to our farmers that we are committed to them. In fact, when you looked at, if we cast our minds back to COVID, our farming sector got the largest level of support from the government or any other sector. They were the ones who got the most support because we felt that food security was going to be critical. And so we continue to partner with our farmers. We continue to push food security. We continue to say to them that we want to do more, and where the resources are available, we intend to do more. So I'm going to investigate that. I wasn't told that there was just one plow available. I do know that we've had some equipment failures, but I'll investigate that, and I can assure you, Ms. Jeffers, that the answer is absolutely yes. If we need to invest more in order to bring greater relief to our farmers, then that's what we will do, because we need food. We can survive without a lot of other things, but we definitely need food. And as the cost of living spirals because of a lot of factors, we see Israel has just decided to start this conflagration with Iran. The United States has now got involved in that war. Iran is one of the world's largest oil producers. They now talk that Iran may close the Strait of Hormuz, where oil travels through to get to us and to get to other people in the world. Venezuelan oil is under restrictions. Russian oil is under restrictions. If Iranian oil is now under restrictions, it means that you and I and our households are going to have to pay more for electricity because the cost of fuel is going to go up. The bus driver is going to have to pay more for his gas or diesel. He then going to want to charge the passenger more to transport them from Handley's Road to town. And the bakeries and all of those say that they bake using electric ovens. Never charging them more, they're going to charge them more for the bread and for the cake and for everything. I just want our people to understand how a lot of these inflationary tendencies are not caused by us. The NIA has not attacked us all, we haven't done a thing. But we are going to have to deal now with the reality of higher fuel prices, and once the cost of fuel goes up, the cost of everything else goes up. And so the only way we can insulate ourselves against some of those shocks is really, one, to accelerate our geothermal ambitions, that we don't have to worry about oil anymore, and two, to grow more of what we eat. Instead of going to the supermarket and being forced to go there to buy whatever it is you're buying there to make your lunch or your dinner, if you could get that from your local market or your local farm, or alternatively, if you have your backyard farm, right? As I stand here today, I have 2 bunches of bananas right now. One gonna be ready very soon in my yard. I have seasoning peppers. I see something look like pumpkin or squash that's emerging. I have mango trees. I have guava. I have avocado. I have all of these things planted. Not all of them are bearing yet, but planted. And the hope is that if we replicate that, house after house, you know, some people say, oh, I have a problem with the monkeys, I have a problem with the donkeys, I have a problem with goat and sheep. We all have problems, I get it. But I think sometimes it's used as an excuse not to do something. And I feel sometimes, you know, if you're planting, for example, mango, or you're doing avocado, you're doing the larger trees, the donkeys and the goats and sheep not going to impact those. The monkeys may, right? But even something like coconut, to plant coconut palms. I bought a bottle of coconut water the other day, $25 for a bottle of coconut water, right? So the opportunities for us are there. It's really for us now to say, listen, let us get serious about it. So I take your question. I think what you've made is a very legitimate point, and I assure you I will go back to the Minister of Agriculture on it. Anything further for me, ladies and gentlemen? No? Okay. Thank you very much for being here. Enjoy your music festival. Save some money and save some energy, because as soon as Music Fest is over, it's Mango Fest. Save some money and save some energy, because as soon as Mango Fest is over, it's Culture Arm. We do have a summer of events, and I'm told cricket is coming as well, so we have all kinds of things happening. Be safe, I hope, everyone. Drive carefully on the roads. That's going to be important as people fet. Please don't drink and drive. Don't smoke and drive. Try your very best to be safe. You know, there are people at home waiting for you to come home. And I hope that we have a safe festival. Thank you all very much, and I look forward, God willing, to seeing you next month.